Where do I get my identity from? I get it because I trust myself, and I also trusted people who gave me good feedback. And I believed in myself through strange ways. I learned, well, as an athlete, as a young man, I was a very good athlete. That's unquestionable. But then eventually what happened was that I learned languages. I grew up in a bilingual household, but then I went on to learn Spanish and French. I went off to live in countries on my own. And my mother and father were very good about that because they were just good parents. I had great parents that were very open. Strangely orthodox in other ways, but something about learning and being a part of the world. Because my mother left Italy, she couldn't speak English at all, married my dad over there, came here and knew 3 words, button, flag, and pipe. And then learned English through me. My mother learned the English language through me, going to school, coming home with my little Judy, see Judy run, see Puff Puff, you know that whole thing? Well, that's how she learned. It's a silly story, but it's a true story. And this is the other thing. You get your identity from the things that you do, from the ability to trust yourself. That's what it is for me. Identity comes from what you do for you. And I said it earlier when we were talking about standardization. Don't let the hosers and the posers define who you are. You be your own identity. You define yourself to yourself. Trust yourself. And if something doesn't work out the way you want it to, well, persevere. A good example of that. When you started walking, I'll ask you this question. You wanted to walk when you were a child, right? You fell down the first time, I'm sure, right? Why didn't you quit?
Because you want to do it.
Because you wanted to do it. Exactly. It's like anything else. I don't care what it is. You got to practice it. I mean, if you're an athlete, whatever it is, a musician, and in the teaching field, for me, I've practiced this. I studied this. I was willing to go into those. I asked students, what am I doing? How do you like it? I remember doing that. I don't know whether Manjuk remembers or not. But I'd say, how are we doing? Can I do anything better in here? And why not? You're the ones that are receiving what I'm doing. Why wouldn't I ask that question? Because I want to know. I want to get better at something. Where am I dropping the ball? So when I talk about identity, that's what I mean. You need to trust yourself. And you need to, when you ask for feedback, you better be ready for it. You better be genuine and authentic in the asking for that feedback. Because if you're just looking for a stroke, well, that's not honest. And a lot of kids are a little nervous about giving feedback. But fortunately, I believe I've created in many of my environments the freedom, the sense of, he really wants it. And fortunately, I really have not ever received anything ugly. And I can say that, honestly. But, it might happen, so okay. But I do ask because that helps me. Not so much people telling me how to be, but giving me advice on how I could be better at dealing with a certain situation. Because it's all about personalities. And I think we had a little mini discussion before, and I said, one of the things about fears is learning about what it is that you're afraid of. And I was a very, very quiet child. I know that's hard to believe now, but I was. I came from a very orthodox background of Catholicism, okay? So I had to literally fight my way out of that. I'm a recovering Catholic, okay? And I really go through that experience, and having really let loose, if you would, of those types of beliefs, and really looked at myself as being the center of what I do, and my spirit is what guides me, I became stronger because I started to understand more of myself, because the fears that I had were based on nothing, hocus pocus. So I just fought my way through that. So I learned about how to deal with people, how to deal with difficult people. I studied it. And then I watched it in action. And you want to know what? I wasn't good at it at the beginning. No. Even in music. The first couple of times I was on stage, I got booed by my friends. So that'll just put that in perspective. But so what? I knew I had what it took to get where I had to go. I knew I could do it. It was just a question of keep working at it. My mother thought that I was on drugs because that's the other thing. When I came home from graduate school, I went to Middlebury, and I had an opportunity to teach at Yale. And a friend set me up because I was a good student, blah, blah, blah. I went to Middlebury. That's not that significant. What is significant is I was going to go to Yale to teach. And I decided, instead of going to Yale, I was going to play music. Now, what's interesting about that is I never played an instrument, nothing. It just came to me that I could do this. You might say, oh, come on, I don't make things up. And then I started, and that's what it sounded like. But that's all right, because I knew that eventually I would get it, and I did. But it was because of work. I saw myself as capable.